Okay, we're going to get things started here. Doing a check to make sure everything's going, doing all my checks, got everything set, got my notes, got all my stuff. Oh my goodness. We're just going to wait for some people to trickle in, and yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, I say this every week. It's been a crazy week. Um but it's also been a crazy week for the show. I mean, the show continues to grow. Um, Something big happened recently. That's kind of why I called this episode the Big Split for a few reasons. But um, one of the main reasons I called this episode the Big Split is the show has split. I was telling people about this early last week that my master plan was to split the show up because it was getting too big. And I've been doing the show for years now. And when I say too big, I really kind of mean too long. Because when I first started the show, there was, it was hard to fill an hour. Now it's impossible to keep it under, 2 or 3 hours. It's nuts. Um, Lots of people who have shows in the ecosystem have said this. It's a good thing though. But I started to have interviews on the show. That was a whole new thing. I love doing interviews. I've been able to interview so many amazing people in the ecosystem, like Rob Allen and even Matt Smithies from Dovu, and it's just too much for one show. But I also didn't want to start another show, right? I've had people reach out. You know, I've had all sorts of opportunities for partnerships and sponsorships and all sorts of different things. And the show's pretty small still. I mean, the ecosystem's small. I think there's room to grow, but I didn't think that it would grow this fast. And I did something cool on Friday for the first time in a long time. The Hashgraph Enthusiast show was live with just an interview. I interviewed Matt, CTO of Dovu. We had a great conversation. It was like a separate show, but it was part of the same show. And this is the big split that's happened. It's grown. I've had to make some changes. Things are going to be a little different moving forward. That's kind of a theme right now. I want to make changes with the show, right? The community, the audience, and the Hedera ecosystem have changed so much over the years. The show's got to change with it. People keep making awesome contributions to the show. They're sending HBAR contributions. I'm going to get some new equipment. But most importantly, I've been changing the format of the show, reworking a lot of things on the back end. Like, there's a whole research component to this show, right? I do probably 5 hours of research every week. And it's really extensive because I want to be able to drill down really complex stories into simple things, share my thoughts. I have a lot of history in the ecosystem. I know a lot of people. I want to give those insights. And then I got to try to do an interview. No, it's got to be two separate things. It's got to be its own world. So right now, here's how the show works. It is Hashgraph Enthusiasts, news, and interviews. That's the show. The news is right now, right? Every Sunday. And the interviews are whenever. Probably going to do an interview every week. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. It gives me some flexibility. Most importantly, it gives the guests flexibility. Whatever day, whatever time, I want to be able to get the best guests. And I want the news show to be able to have room to breathe and have room to talk about all these topics and not try to cram too much in. I was feeling I was rushing a lot of the news when I had an interview. It was too much, and I was missing too much. So, and this is also based off a lot of feedback from people. And I just am so excited about the future of this show, mostly because I've done a lot of podcasting in the past. This isn't my first show. And one of the things that gets me most excited about this show is the fact that the Hedera community is still pretty small, but it's so powerful. And I've been in it for so long and have such a story inside the ecosystem and have built up so much knowledge that when we do enter a bull market, right? When the community does grow, I want the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show to be a great place for people to come regularly, to stay up to date, hear cool conversations, and have it be a really great excuse for me to really force myself to stay up to date, stay connected, and there's a lot of cool stuff I want to do at the show. And it's a really exciting time. One thing I want to mention is not going to be happening right now, but just, as I'm saying, there's a lot changing. There's a lot happening with the show. I'm thinking about the time slot for the news show, right? The news show right now is every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's been like that for over a year. The time of this news show has changed in the past, back when it was on Clubhouse. Shout out to all the people that were on Clubhouse. But it might change again because it's hard, I think that the most important thing, I've said this many times, is showing up is 90% of the battle when you're trying to build a community, when you're trying to help out, when you're trying to grow the ecosystem, grow a show, right? You have to show up. There's got to be an episode every week. So there's been an episode every week, other than, when I've been sick or my wedding recently. And the time of the show, I think, might change in the future. I've asked people before. People like the time of the show, but I'm seeing too many messages like this. I'll read something. Coinman, the HBAR Barian on Twitter, like legend in the community, he shares the link to this show today. He says, if you're awake at this ungodly hour, this is always a good show. I listened back a few days later. Now he's in the UK. My wife just left recently, about an hour ago, to go to a bonfire with some family. Right? It's 7 p.m. here in Ottawa. So the time of the show, it just feels like things have changed in my life. Things are changing in the ecosystem, in the community. I feel like there's a better time for this news show, right? A better regular time. So I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm going to be asking people on Twitter. We'll come up with a plan. Nothing crazy soon, but big changes happening in the show, right? The news is going to have a consistent time every week, and then we're going to have interviews and great conversations popping in and out. It's all going to come together on one feed. And the thing that brings it all together, I think, is the fact that the show's now on podcast platforms. So you can listen to the recording easily anytime. So the listenership has grown on that front, because I want the live show to be broadcast at the best time it can be broadcast. And it's available everywhere now. So the live show isn't that big of a deal, but I think that it could be at a better time. And the live show is important to me because sometimes folks stop by, bring them up, have a random conversation. It's fun. You get someone like King Solomon stopping by or something. It's always a blast. But I'm putting the notice out. Stuff's changing. Stuff's growing. I'm excited. So, follow along. It's going to keep getting interesting. And with that, good evening from Ottawa, Canada, everyone. My name is Brandon Davenport, a.k.a. It's Brandon D. It is Sunday, September 3rd, and you're listening to episode 91 of the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show. This is the weekly news, and I'm calling it The Big Split. This is where we cover the top stories related to Hedera, HBAR, and everything in between. Listen live on Spaces every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific for now. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and other platforms, and hear past episodes. Also, catch the Hashgraph Enthusiast interview episodes weekly, like I was talking about. A new format for the show as we grow. My next interview is going to be a very interesting one. A very, very interesting one. And this is a great example of why I got to split the show. The person I'm interviewing next week is in Dubai, and that's a limited window of time. I haven't been able to get them on the show. And by splitting up the show, I'm now going to be able to get them on the show. It's probably one of the interviews I'm most excited about. And it's an interview with somebody that I don't think folks hear from a lot in the ecosystem, but they kind of do without knowing it. So I'm very excited about that. So stay tuned. I'm going to be letting folks know about that interview. It's going to be a very interesting one. Follow me on X formerly Twitter. Get everything you need to know about the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR. For folks listening live now, check out the mega thread pinned up to the Jumbotron. I love the shorthand we have for spaces now, Jumbotron. As we dive into each news story, also take a moment to share the spaces with your friends. If you've got some interesting news people should know about, there's a little comment button at the bottom right of the spaces. Maybe share a photo where you're listening from. Some people will share a picture with me, DM it, or leave it in the comments or whatever where they're listening from. Give a cheers. Spread the good vibes. It's a Sunday. It's a beautiful night. And for folks listening to the recording, leave a comment. Break down your thoughts. We're talking about a lot today. Let's keep the conversation going. Yeah, we got a lot going on. Let's talk about what we are going to cover today because I'm very excited. Today, we're going to be talking about that dang old Hedera Twitter account again, posting some spicy tweets, getting them deleted. That was interesting. We're going to talk about a partnership involving Carbonbase. And this is a big one. This is what I'm really excited about. I think that this is the kind of news stories that I think when they actually kind of hit, it's going to catch people off guard because it's big stuff. We're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry. There's some news involving the SEC, of course. I mean, would this be a crypto news show without talking about the SEC at this point? We're going to talk about NFtier. We're going to talk about my thoughts on X and the interesting revenue programs they have for creators with the ad revenue share. Not the best model in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. We're going to talk about my recent interview with Matt Smithies from Dovu. That was a very interesting interview. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go back and listen to it. We had that on Friday. We're going to talk about Elon Musk. We're going to talk about HBAR. I mean, of course, but it's a very interesting topic right now with the price action. The Guardian. There's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about the Guardian, actually. Got a couple rumors here and there. Saucer swap updates. Rob Allen's going off about stuff. We got another bunch of rumors. We got not an update, but like maybe a touch base on coupons, I'll say. And some interesting updates. Hashpack has some cool updates. We got a lot going on today. I love it. I dig it. And excuse me, I'm still just getting over this cold. I'm doing better. But let's dive into it here. Let's talk about something juicy. Carbonbase. I want to talk about Carbonbase. This is a really interesting one. So Asia's first digital native carbon registry is coming, and it's powered by Hedera Hashgraph. And if we look at the story here, Asia has a carbon emission crisis because there isn't a carbon registry. There just isn't the foundations there for a lot of these carbon offset products and credits. And when you look at what these nations are going to have to do and the amount of these credits they're going to have to be purchased, it's massive. And to not have that supply in the system is crazy. We're going to talk about kind of like where Hedera comes into this, and then also the impact of this. And for folks unfamiliar with the term carbon registry, a platform that allows for the registration, verification, and purchase of carbon credits. So you can kind of think of it like a marketplace, but it's kind of the pipeline, right, that creates that supply. Carbon credits, obviously, certificates that represent a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And then also mentioned here is the digital MRV. So that stands for measurement, reporting, and verification, a digital system for tracking and verifying carbon credits. Carbonbase is a climate tech company focused on enabling effective climate action. And this partnership is also with Impact X, which is a social impact catalyst for sustainable solutions to pressing social and environmental challenges. And then also the IEEE, fun acronym, The Institute of Electrical and the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, it's a mouthful, involved in setting standards for the project. So in Asia, the carbon emission crisis, the Asia-Pacific region accounted for over 50% of global carbon dioxide emissions in 2022. So this is a big contributor to carbon emissions. But again, there isn't a localized carbon registry for efficient emission reductions, right? There's 4 carbon registries in the world serving all sorts of different geographies and markets. And what Carbonbase wants to do is they want to kind of become that 5th carbon registry, but have it be, as they say, completely on chain, or I guess in this case, completely on graph. But the essentially what where Hedera comes into this is developed on the Hedera network, and the Global Climate Registry offers a cost-effective, transparent, and accessible solution. And this is kind of in line with what we've seen from a bunch of these other initiatives, leveraging, HTS, HCS for these different things, and Guardian policy workflow engine. That's another big part of this, is the Guardian that we'll be talking about as well. This is going to enable small and medium-sized developers to gain recognition and provides corporate buyers with enhanced data reporting. So that's another big missing piece to this, is that information flow and the validity of these credits, right? As many people talk about, the market as it exists today is pretty opaque, and it's full of a lot of garbage and scams and all that kind of stuff. So, and bunk product. So this encompasses a lot of what we talked about in the show, just at a really big scale, right? We're talking about addressing 50% of the global carbon dioxide emissions, right, in the Asia Pacific region that does not have a carbon registry. So this digital carbon registry streamlines the measurement, reporting, and verification process, so the MRV process, and it promotes broader engagement from businesses, industries, and governments in the collective effort to combat climate change. And so Max Song, who's the founder, gave an interview, and what he did was highlight some of the key points of this use case. And as he mentioned, there's 4 carbon registries in the world. They want to be the 5th, and they want it to be all on chain, or on graph. And the current carbon registries run on traditional databases. So that's another interesting point to this, right, is when you hear the words traditional databases, and we think about the Hedera consensus service, right, that notary public that use cases like Atma.io from Avery Dennison use, and many of these other use cases, Rob Allen has even referred to the HCS product from Hedera as almost like the gateway drug to Web3, because when you leverage HCS, you don't necessarily have to build like a Web3 product. You can effectively operate it as a regular database and still get all the benefits of Hedera Hashgraph. Give me a minute here. I just got to sneeze. Oh, man. I'm doing all I can, folks. I feel like I'm at the tail end of this cold, though. Also, my allergies kicked in. And here in Ottawa, this allergy season has just been crazy. I think it's when your immune system gets a little bit shot, your allergies start to get a little worse. But that's a big component of this. When you think about it, if all these carbon registries are based off traditional databases, that creates that pathway to leveraging Hedera through HCS in a big way. Now, what Max Song highlights here, this is the really exciting part. There will be big money flows into this carbon registry. So he says, for example, China will need to spend $17 to $25 trillion, that's trillion with a T, to meet their climate change solutions. And the US would be a similar scale, right? $25 trillion. Other countries collectively, right? So all other countries combined will need to spend $100 trillion. So what we're talking about here is like about $150 trillion worth of, sounds like, demand, right? And there's not the supply to meet it. And the key to unlocking that supply is a technology like Hedera Hashgraph and projects like this that leverage Hedera Hashgraph, because it's so in line, right down to the protocol layer, being a carbon negative protocol, ABFT, right? and low fixed fees. It just makes sense. And the gravity of this can't be understated when we're talking about tens of trillions of dollars of money flow. That's crazy. And that's not something that's going to be immediate. But this, like, when you hear about a story like this, it really makes you think about that original core vision of Hedera when they talk about putting the balance sheet of the planet on Ledger. The balance sheet of the planet is probably tens of trillions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of trillions of dollars. So again, this is a big, big use case. And a great way to illustrate this is the current crypto market, right? The current market cap of all of crypto, right? All the tens of thousands of cryptos out there is just $1.5 trillion. The market cap of Apple, right? One company, is greater than the market cap of the entire crypto industry. So here's another interesting fact. The current green bond market is just $1.5 trillion. So when you look at those numbers and you go, okay, the current green bond market and the current crypto market, combined are like $3 trillion. And you look at how this technology is going to be leveraged and the demand and supply, and you start talking about tens or hundreds of trillions of dollars, it really starts to make you understand the opportunity here. And when people say, oh, we're early, like, this is the definition of being early, and that growth potential, that upward potential of these markets. So that interview that Max Song did, who's the founder from Carbonbase, like, that really just got me going. And before the end of 2023, they want to launch their first product. They want to allow developers to come into them and large companies transitioning to digital. So basically, they want to go and get going and start getting these companies and developers onboarded before the end of the year. They've already spoken to over 20 projects. So the scale is huge. It's very early. It's at the very beginnings of this project. But the fact that they're going public about this with an announcement, and I think they also has some publicity at Davos, right? Remember the Hedera House and all that kind of stuff. This is a really good sign that we're seeing so many of these use cases start to come online. And this really brings me to something I want to talk about. Well, actually, real quick before I do, there's a couple other things on this. Like, we want to focus on how this is going to accelerate the adoption of carbon credits in Asia, and we want to look a little closer at exactly what role Hedera is going to play in this use case, because there's a lot of similarities between these ESG, climate, sustainability use cases. But I'm always interested to see what are the differences between each of them, because there are some nuanced differences. But it is really cool to see a lot of these use cases kind of folding into each other and following those same paths of innovation. So that's been really amazing to see. But a nice segue into another topic is my interview on Friday with Matt from Dovu. And I won't go on too long about this. I just want to touch on it quickly, but go back and listen to it. It was a great interview. Matt Smithies, CTO of Dovu. We talked about a lot. A lot of people over this year have been like, Dovu's kind of gone quiet. There's not a lot happening, but as we've learned, there's been a lot happening behind the scenes. Many initiatives have been accelerated behind the scenes. They're leveraging AI in all new ways, and there's so many exciting things happening. It was a great conversation, and I think that they're at a big transitionary phase of the project, and I think everybody interested in Dovu or invested should be paying attention very closely right now. And you should definitely go and listen to that interview. But one of my favorite things was the fact that we got to talk about the Dovu roadmap for the very first time, right? The first time publicly that certain elements of the Dovu roadmap were shared with the community, and that was huge. And one big thing on that roadmap that I think that I've been thinking about a lot is something called the Dovu Charger. And what the Dovu Charger is it's this whole new system and effectively pairs micropayments with APIs. And essentially, let me see if I can break this down and try to stress the importance of this. The whole internet is effectively run by APIs, right? And let me look up actually what the definition of API is. API definition, because I can't remember the application programming interface. So effectively, when you're using Twitter or when you're using an internet application, you're doing all sorts of API calls. And what that means is that the application you're using is making requests to another application, requesting data or some other type of thing. And all of these different types of actions cost money, right? And because those servers need upkeep, those systems need upkeep, and API calls are like a form of currency, right? So when X or Twitter says, oh, do you want to show 10 tweets on your website? It's going to be this many API calls, and those API calls are going to cost this much to serve those to you. And as we've known, there's been a lot of drama around API calls and those prices being raised. But what Dovu is doing with their Charger initiative is they're changing the way API calls work. Whereas traditionally, an API, you go to the service, you put your credit card in, and you basically make calls to that service, right? So you make calls to Twitter or some other application, and you're charged for those API calls via your credit card. So already there's all sorts of different inefficiencies brought into the fold. And what Dovu has done is they've looked at that and what they're doing, and we talked about on the interview, we talked with Matt about their carbon offset onboarding, which is basically allowing somebody to use their AI powered wizard to generate complex documentation based off of input to onboard their carbon credits and help lower the barriers for people that don't have teams of lawyers and years to prepare and all those kinds of things. And that takes API calls and it takes processing those different applications. And so what Dovu has done is they've said, well, this is the utility for Dovu token, right? You pay for those actions on the platform using Dovu token. And they've developed this charger system. So now you've got micropayments tied with these API calls. And what they've effectively done is created a better version of what's already out there. And I'll give you a great example. A lot of people are using ChatGPT, and you've probably seen online, you're using the ChatGPT API. You go to the OpenAI website, you enter your credit card, you pay for that, all those types of things. Imagine if you could pay per API call, or if OpenAI could have like a GPT token that you could have a balance of, or if we did have like a tokenized US dollar that all your banks used and you had it on your card and you could do micropayments with your tokenized government-backed US dollar with those API calls, it would cost less money for the companies and the users, and it would work so much better. It would be a paradigm shift in how the internet operates. And Dovu is developing this for their platform. And Matt said that this is going to be the Dovu Charger system is going to be something that other projects can use. It'll be open source. So that's so exciting. We talked about it a lot on the interview, but that was an exciting part of the Dovu project. And again, that is what those Dovu tokens are going to be used for. All of those interactions happening in various aspects of the application are going to be paid using Dovu token. It's going to be pretty amazing. I was excited about it. We talked also too about the airdrop migration for the new Dovu token. That's a whole thing. There's a whole timeline. For folks unaware, Dovu is getting rid of their current token. They're making a new token and they're going to be airdropping it. It's happening next week. So if you're a holder or you're an investor, listen to that interview. All the info's there. Pay attention, reach out to Dovu, get the information you need. That's kind of the call to action here, because they're a big use case. We were just talking about, the Carbonbase use case and stuff. All these ESG use cases, they're all connected in all sorts of different ways. They're all using each other's systems. So it's going to be really important to pay attention. Up next, we're going to talk about NFtier, the NFT space. Some exciting things have happened there. NFtier is going to be revolutionizing kind of how data-driven decisions happen for collectors and creators with this new advanced analytics dashboard. So they got some new features. It's all about advanced analytics. And basically, if folks are unfamiliar with terms like, rarity engine, which is a tool that helps determine an NFT's rarity. So basically, they're going to be launching a couple new features. Smart contract launchpad, which is really important for a lot of people. They're going to be launching that rarity engine. So they're going to be offering a rarity engine for people, which is, a big pain point for creators trying to come up with all that data. Customized alerts. They're going to be having a listing tool for spotting trends, which is really interesting. And they're going to have free notifications, virtually free notifications. They're going to cost 0.05 HBAR or their tier token. But notifications are going to be a big thing. That's a trend that I've been noticing in the ecosystem, like with the LedgerWorks Sentry product. I love notifications. It's so handy to understand in real time what's happening on the network for things that I care about, right? Whether it's a wallet that I have or a collection that I'm following or another account that I'm watching, it's those alerts are so cool. And again, when we're talking about that Dovu Charger program, right? And we're paying for these alerts. Imagine a system where you pay for each alert. You do like a micropayment of, let's say, a fifth of a penny or something per alert. Like, it's just, that Dovu Charger initiative is just so cool. So kind of every time I hear about micropayments and stuff, that Dovu Charger stuff pops in my head. Now, the Advanced Analytics Suite from NFtier, they're going to enable those native functionalities without the need for smart contracts. And that's important for Hedera because a lot of the activity in regards to NFTs and utilities and really the DNA of the ecosystem is right on the protocol layer. Most NFTs, like I'd say 99% of the NFTs minted on Hedera don't involve smart contracts. They're tokens, the same as HBAR. So they've got some specific stuff for that. And I've been seeing a lot of good community support for NFtier. So shout out to them. And I think that it'll be interesting. I haven't had a chance to dive into the new platform that they have for these advanced analytics. I want to give it a try. I'm interested to see how easy it is for the average user, because it's going to be so interesting to see when regular people who maybe aren't totally plugged in as crypto people have access to these easy tools that they can start to understand what's happening on these networks. That's going to be really fun because it's going to allow people to more quickly make sense of everything. So shout out to NFtier. I love it. Love seeing new features come out. And let's do a little bit of a rapid fire here. We got a couple quick stories to get through here because there's a few things that have been happening. So one thing is, let me see here. So Timeless, again, another ESG kind of sustainability use case. Timeless has migrated to Google Cloud. So Google is a governing council member for Hedera, as most know, and seeing a use case on Hedera migrating to a governing council member's product, right? Google Cloud, shows potentially some more in-depth collaboration between governing council members and more established projects that have maybe reached a deeper maturity. Also, remember, Timeless has partnered with Dovu. So all of this kind of connective tissue is happening. And that's really great to see. So I dig it. Google Cloud, Timeless. Let's see what happens. It's just also too, any information that I get about Google getting more involved or more involved with projects on Hedera, the more excited I get, because I'm learning more and more that Google is really one of the, if not the most engaged governing council member. And to me, it's really important that there's a phrase that Steve Jobs would bring up many times, and he said, you've got to be a yardstick for success in your company. Like, you really have to be the thing that other people in your company can measure themselves against. So you really have to bring your A game. You got to be the best that you can be. And I really hope that of a lot of these core governing council members that we see having high attendance at these meetings and stuff, as much as I want to see less engaged governing council members engage more, I also like seeing highly engaged governing council members increase their engagement, just because, again, I want the example to be set. And Google, it's just really important that they're involved in what Hedera is doing. So good to see that. Influencers have been talking about Hedera a lot more. That's another thing I've noticed. Like, there was recently a video posted by Fire Hustle. There's also a bunch of other stuff like BSC News. I'm seeing a lot. To me, I'm getting the feeling, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, maybe leave a comment or let me know, but I get the sense that Hedera or the HBAR Foundation is doing more of that paid influencer engagement. Some of it's really good. Some of it is like kind of weird. Like, there'll be interviews or videos about Hedera that are shared by brands that, let's say, have 1 million followers on Twitter. But I go to the YouTube video, and the YouTube video has like 310 views or something. So it's weird. I think Hedera and the HBAR Foundation is really diving into that paid influencer ocean for the first time, in a way. That's the sense I get. Also, I think there's a lot of organic stuff happening too. I think that genuinely Hedera is grabbing eyeballs, especially over recent weeks and months with the FedNow stuff, the Hyundai stuff, and all those different things. So I think that a lot more influencer stuff is happening. And I dig it. Nothing to pass up. One thing that's grabbing people's attention too is CoinDesk. I've also seen CoinDesk publishing a lot with Hedera, and it has been mentioned by Zepsi, I believe, at the HBAR Foundation, that CoinDesk is going to be more involved with the Hedera news cycle going forward. So when major announcements come out from Hedera, I think they're going to be working with CoinDesk a little more closely so they can, I guess, publish more accurate news, because some of the news that comes out about Hedera has been, we've read it, we've been like, they don't get it, or they're not covering it correctly. So it seems like there's also deeper relationships being formed between these press outlets and Hedera, HBAR Foundation, etc. So CoinDesk published a tweet that said, quote, and again, this was on August 31st, so a couple of days ago, but I want to just highlight this as a moment in time that probably is grabbing people's attention, and probably, one of the reasons why we're getting more influencer, or an example of why we're getting more influencer coverage is, quote, CoinDesk says, Ethereum is up 44% in 2023, but August has not been a strong month. The CoinDesk Smart Contract Platform Index, which includes Ethereum, as well as projects like Optimism and Algorand, is down roughly 10% so far this month. The most notable outlier is Hedera Hashgraph's HBAR, which shot up in price after the U.S. Federal Reserve instant payments platform FedNow added drop as a Hedera-based micropayments platform as a service provider. The HBAR token was sitting on a 10% gain for August. So in August, a few things aligned, and Hedera stood out, right, in a very good way. And we're seeing the results of that. I'd like to see higher quality coverage still. Some of the influencer stuff, it feels like paid influencer stuff. It feels weird. I don't know. I'm not totally about it, but it is what it is. It's good to see things headed in that kind of retail direction. I mean, what else can you say? Coupons. It's been too long since I've talked about coupons. Anyone who listens to this show knows I talk about coupons a lot. Why do I talk about coupons a lot? Well, the current 8110 coupon standard in the world that all of your coupons run through, it sucks. There's a lot of fraud. All of your coupons have to be sent down to Mexico to be manually counted. It's a nightmare. Brands don't have any idea what's going on. They want to do all sorts of new exciting things, but retailers are slow to move. There's slow old technology. I mean, if you ever been to a retail store and you look at the checkout systems they're using, it's like, it's crazy. It's all outdated. It's a nightmare. So they're going to fix that. There's a new 8112 digital coupon standard that is coming. It is coming, but it's been very slow and disappointing. But the exciting thing about it is it's going to strip away all the complexities for brands so they can do all sorts of crazy, exciting things and customer engagements and loyalty programs without having retail stores need to do a bunch of different things. And all these, millions and billions of coupons are going to run through Hedera Hashgraph. It's going to make everything great. The fraud is going to be eliminated. It's so beautiful. And the best part is that it's a new standard. So what it means is the old standard is going to go away. The new standard is going to be used by everybody. That's the way things work in that industry. And it's taking forever. We were promised last year, right? And now most recently, the estimates are Q4 this year, things are going to be going live. I imagine it's going to be pushed back sooner. And the problem is not brands, right? When we look at the brands that are going to be using it, the major brands, they are excited about it. They want to start using it. The value proposition is there. It's great. But when we look at the retailers, the people actually selling the products with those systems that have to take a lot of this tech debt on to develop these and do these updates, they're dragging their heels, right? And it's slowing things down. It's a learning curve, all these different types of things. And so an update from Brandy Johnson, the CEO at the Coupon Bureau, and the Coupon Bureau is the organization spearheading the effort for these new coupons. And again, it can't be stressed how big this is. Like, the coupon stuff is big. It's just slow and it's been disappointing and we're waiting on it. But Brandy Johnson shares to LinkedIn, quote, "The path to success is really smooth. Building the Coupon Bureau has been an incredibly challenging journey, but also the most rewarding accomplishment in my career. At times, it felt like we were facing an uphill battle, navigating the complexities of the coupon industry. But with the unwavering determination, we continue to believe in the vision and the impact it will make. To my incredible team, blah, 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 thank you. And we continue this journey. I'm excited for what lies ahead." So clearly, the CEO of the Coupon Bureau expressing a sentiment of, yes, this has taken a long time. It bums me out. But there has been successes. Things are moving forward. And we should continue to see this use case grow. It's just slow. And I feel hopeful about it. I'm excited about it. Why I'm excited about coupons is because when my mom saves, 20% on milk at the grocery store and she uses her digital coupon in the future, she'll be using Hedera Hashgraph without even knowing it. It's kind of what Lehman talks about, right? Lehman, the creative Hashgraph. It's like, he talks about this, the fact that most people will be using distributed ledgers without even realizing it. So that's a big element here. Coupons is big. I'm excited for it. Hurry it up. It's taking too long. Brady from Swirlds. Brady is marketing at Swirlds, director of marketing. At Hedera. Shout out. He tweets an image of something we talked about on the last episode of the news, which was the consensus time on the network dropped below 5 seconds, which is huge. Not only does it communicate to us that they're preparing for an influx of mainnet transactions, but it also shows that the network can be super performant. And he says, quote, "Excited to share what this is all about in a blog post with core Hedera engineering. Another update coming in October and blog post estimated to be published by end of October. So we talked about this last week, as I said. It looks to me as though all signs are pointing to Hedera preparing for a lot of scale. I think a theme I'm hearing as well is the March 9th attack on the network that caused the proxies to need to shut down, that caused $600,000 to be stolen, exploits in the smart contracts, all those different types of things. We talked about that there was a 3-hour show that I did. I walked through everything. But anyways, if you're unfamiliar with that, it was a crazy time. It's all resolved. It was handled really well. But that exploit caused a lot of extra work to need to be done. So things were pushed back. And so to me, it feels like Hedera and Swirlds are playing catch up to scale the network. And it sounds like a lot of things are coming into place that would necessitate the scaling of the network, right? To accommodate more transactions faster. And this gets me excited. I'm looking forward to Brady's article. The next time I see him tune into the show, I'm going to bring him up. I'm going to talk to him. Maybe I'll get him on for an interview. I'm excited. I haven't had Brady on the show for a long time. It's been too long. Brady, I miss you. If you hear this, let's get something going on. Also, Hashpack has done a big update. Hashpack adding the ability for NFT domain holders to set their domain name as a username on Hashpack wallet. So Hashpack has created a kind of account profile element to the wallet. So not only can you have your Hedera account ID, right? You have 0.0.1234567. And so people kind of know who you are and you can send things back and forth. Also in Hashpack, you can set a profile picture, and now you can use one of these NFT domain names as your profile name. So .hbar, .hangry, .boo, all those different ones that are out that folks have in their wallets. You can go to your Hashpack and you can set your username as your NFT domain name, which is kind of cool. This is bringing utility for these domain names. I love to see that. When these domain names launched early on, you know, there was like a Google Chrome plugin, so you could like connect it to a website. There was the ability to send transfers back and forth using the domain names in wallets. It was kind of cool, but it's great to see more utility added to these domain names as the ecosystem kind of expands and grows. And yeah, it's good to see. So one thing that Hashpack notes is this is going to lead to something big coming soon. And we kind of have yet to see what that's about. But Tyler from Hashpack reached out to me directly before the show saying, you know, let people know that this is going to lead to something important and to keep an eye out. I can't remember exactly what he said. Let me load up my my message. Also to Tyler, if you're listening to the recording or whatever, shout out. Yeah, he says it is the usernames and account pictures are leading to something. So yeah, keep an eye out. And I think I remember him mentioning that. I can't remember. He mentioned something else to me. I can't remember off the top of my mind. But Hashpack, keep an eye out, people. What else we got going on? Hedera deleted some tweets. It bums me out. We're going to talk about it. I don't like seeing Hedera delete tweets because the one that they deleted was so great, spicy. Got deleted. A lot of people lost it. I got a screenshot of it, which is great. Before we go on, though, the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show averages about 500 listeners every week on Spaces and hundreds more on podcast platforms. If you go back and scroll through the past episodes, it's crazy. Like some of these episodes of the news get like 1,600 listeners. It's wild. And the interviews, like my interview with Matt on Friday, like almost 250 listens just on Twitter Spaces, never mind other podcast platforms and stuff. Like that's close to, 500 just on its own or 1,000. And it's crazy. I mean, it's just me talking on a Twitter space. I don't even sound that great, but people really enjoy it, and together we want to make the show better. So over the years, I've covered every major news event, unpacked almost every juicy rumor, and hosted countless in-depth discussions with important figures in the Hedera ecosystem, and I've done it all live. It's a blast. If you'd like to support the show, consider making an HBAR donation like many folks in the HBAR community have been doing. Even a few bucks add up. I'm going to be sounding better soon. I'm investing in new technology and equipment. I'm already using some new technology to clean up the audio, make it sound better. Also, I'm leveraging AI more. I've got a whole new workflow and production system for research to try to get more out of the show and bring you just as much information as I can, as simply as possible. So improvements happening all around. It's because of folks contributing to the show. When I see more HBAR being added to the Hashgraph Enthusiasts Hedera account, it sends me a message and motivates me to continue to grow this show. And more importantly than that, I'll get people sending a little bit of HBAR here and there, and the memos that they use for those contributions are so fun and encouraging and supportive. Like, great show. I love the recent episode. Like, I think there's somebody regularly that'll send me like 10 HBAR after every show. Like, love the show. Love listening to the episode. Just, I guess, using transaction memos as like a direct message, I guess. So it's just, sure, it's like a little, couple cents donation to the show, but it's fun. It's cool. So if you'd like to support the show, you can send a contribution to enthusiast.hbar. Using your Hedera wallet, fun memos are appreciated. The show's full Hedera address is in the podcast show notes, YouTube description, and in the mega thread up in the Jumbotron for the folks listening live. What I'll do is I'll just pin a tweet that has all the information you need. I guess, yeah, you could send a 10 HBAR donation now and include a memo, and it's kind of like, and I use the LedgerWorks Sentry product, so I get an email notification. So it's you kind of like send me an email almost. It's kind of crazy. Appreciate it. Get all the info you need about the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR. Also, leave a rating and review for the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and leave a comment on YouTube. Like, it helps the show. It does help the show big time. I appreciate all the feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better, all that good stuff. Brought to you by listeners like you. Now, let's talk about this Twitter shenanigans tomfoolery that's been happening. And maybe I'll tease who my next guest is on the show. Maybe. So, Hedera tweeted out the following on August 27th. They tweeted out, quote, and I will say, again, this is a real tweet that was sent out from the Hedera Twitter account. It said, quote, "Keep complaining. Keep talking about your potential. Why don't you talk about your utility? Stop talking about what could be done. Start talking about what is being done." And I see tweets like that coming out from the Hedera account, and I'm like, Jesus. Like, immediately I think about like these gold bugs and boomer investors in HBAR. God bless you all. I love you. So by the way, so many like older folks listen to this show. I'm kidding. I love you guys. When I became an HBAR investor, and some of my closest friends in this ecosystem are older folks that are, precious metal investor guys, all that kind of good stuff. Straight down, some of the smartest people I know. But they see tweets like this and they freak out, right? I see tweets like this and I go, this is dope. This is fun. This is sassy. This is spicy. I love this. And so it really, HBAR Foundation sent out a tweet like this recently, like the NPC one where it's like gang, HBAR to the moon, carbon neutral, right? And it was just like, these tweets caused such a split reaction from the community overall. And this tweet was deleted. It's happened before. And it just shows to me that there's this internal, I don't want to say struggle or battle. There's just an internal disruption happening within Hedera of this new kind of brand identity, trying to break free, right? There's so much pressure on Hedera to get more with the cool kids, right? Become more relatable for the actual crypto ecosystem, the culture of that ecosystem. And I think tweets like this are great, but I think it rubs people the wrong way. I think it rubs the legal department the wrong way, for sure. I think it also rubs the governing council the wrong way. And it's happened many times in the past. And I've talked about it on the show. And so maybe I'll give you guys a teaser. I'll give you guys a big teaser about who my next guest is. And I'll just tell you who it is. What happens with these tweets and these social media things is it's only been since this year where Hedera's been sending out these wacky tweets that I love and they get deleted. And I'm always going, what's going on? Who is this doing this? And why do they keep getting deleted? And what's their strategy? Like, why do they keep putting themselves through this? I know social media managers. I know how hard it is. I do social media management for some brands in the Hedera ecosystem. And, you know, it's like you win some, you lose some, but you want to put things out and you put things out sometimes that are a little edgy or push the envelope. And sometimes that's what needs to be done. When you got a big corporation, a big organization, you have to go through all of these different checks and balances, all these processes, all these approvals, and that just doesn't work in Web3. It doesn't work in X, right? In Twitter and social media. Things are fast. You have to be able to respond to a current trend or tap into something in the moment, right away, right? You're not talking days or weeks, you're talking minutes and seconds, right? That's where the value is. And for me, I watch the Hedera Twitter account, try and ride this wave. And they're having a tough time. And I think to myself, I go, who is this sending these tweets? What are they trying to accomplish? What is this struggle? What is this battle? What's going on? And it made me realize that one of the most interesting people I could talk to right now in the ecosystem is the person running the Hedera Twitter account. Because that person probably has a lot of interesting insights into the topic so many of us are focused on, is that intersection of Hedera and retail. I talk about it a lot. There's these two separate worlds. There's the enterprise governing council, big wig suits world. And then there's the retail crypto community, NFT, DeFi, degen world, right? The traditional crypto world. And Hedera, we want to try to get these worlds together, but it's tough. And a lot of people are saying, hey, HBAR Foundation, hey, Hedera, you have to be more cool. You have to focus on retail more. You have to capture the attention, spread this awareness in new ways, right? Crypto retail doesn't care about a lot of things you talk about. You have to talk about things that they're interested in. You have to present yourself in a way that's appealing, that fits the tone. And they're trying to do that. Hedera is trying to do that. Whoever's running that Twitter account is trying to do that. And the tweets get deleted. There's something's going on. I want to know what's going on. So my next guest on the show, which will be happening on Friday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern, live, will be the social media manager for the Hedera Twitter account. I want to have a conversation. I want to see what's going on. I want to offer moral support. I want this social media manager of the Hedera Twitter account to know that the community is behind them 100%. I want to ask them, what can we do to help you do more of this stuff? Send more of these cool tweets out. Raise that awareness. We need Hedera, the brand, right? Hedera, the voice, to be more retail focused and to align a little more with what crypto people are all about, what we're all about. And it is very spooky and weird for a lot of these kind of old school investors, right? And kind of more hardcore HBAR maxis. right? Some of these really hardcore Hashgraph enthusiasts. This kind of, degen speak is weird, but it's important. So I'm going to be having a conversation next week with the social media manager for Hedera. We are going to talk about these topics. We're going to figure out what's going on. And we're going to see if there's any ways that the community can align with this stuff. How can we vibe together? How can we try to make a situation where Hedera can send out more of these tweets? And what's the journey like on the inside? What's happening? And also, too, right, think about this. The social media manager for the Hedera Twitter account probably has a lot of great advice when it comes to, managing your social media account or running a large brand and some of those challenges, how to overcome them, lessons throughout their career. So that's going to be really exciting. And my interview with them will be on Friday. That's the teaser. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a great conversation. The social media manager for Hedera. If you're listening right now, shout out to you. Don't send out any more crazy tweets until the interview, please. I don't want you to get in trouble. I want to be able to do the interview. I don't want to have anything happen. So don't rock the boat. Thank you. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. So what else we got going on? Let me see if there's any other little stories I want to get out of the way here before we dive into the rest of this here. I talked about X and their creator program. X, this is a great kind of tie into everyone's wondering, what's going on with X. They're going to be doing crypto payments soon, all these different types of things. So I wanted to talk about this real quick and then tie it into another story. So X support tweeted out the following, quote, "In recent days, our teams have stepped up enforcement on platform manipulation of our monetization features." Jesus. Bear with me, folks. This included several high follower accounts, such as @HistoryInMemes, who was temporarily suspended for selling/purchasing post or account metric inflation, selling or purchasing followers or engagements. Such actions will not be tolerated and could result in permanent suspension. We aim to create a fair playing, blah, 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 whatever. So basically the issue is that the way that creators make money on X or Twitter is they get a cut of advertising revenue on their tweets. So people engagement farm, they post tweets to make you angry, you comment on them, the tweets get more reach, and because there's a bunch of angry or confused or, whatever it is, commenting and, replying and whatever, it means there's more ad impressions, and the person who made that tweet gets a cut of all the ad impressions. So it kind of incentivizes this weird behavior on X where people are posting content that will earn them the most money, which indirectly means that they're trying to post content that's going to get the most ad impressions. And it's just weird. And it just shows the big problem with the fact that social media is so different than a social network, right? Twitter, X, is an advertising company, right? Meta is an advertising company. That's all they are. And so those incentives are just always going to be misaligned. They have to kind of go full Web3. And it makes me think about apps like Galaxy and other social media use cases we've seen built on Hedera, right? Where, for example, you have micropayments where if you like a post, it sends a micropayment to the creator. For example, if you're doing really great, they can send you a donation. There's no advertising on the platform. There's no data harvesting. The business models of those protocols or social media platforms are completely different, and those incentives are aligned in a whole other different way. So all I'm trying to say is the business model just doesn't work for the future of social media, and it's clear with the issues that X is experiencing trying to figure out how to do these types of things. And I mean, bottom line, it's great to see creators making money. I've seen the screenshots of the emails and they're making a couple $100. and that's fantastic. I think it's great, but it's just it to me it feels like the tail end of social media as we know it. The business model has to change, but this brings us to our next big story, which kind of which ties into this really nicely, which is X, right, gets green light for crypto payments in multiple states. So that criticism that I give on X and the way that these platforms work and these incentives being misaligned, it's clear that, even at X, lots of smart people work at these different platforms, and it's clear that things have to change. And a sign of this is the fact that this time we're turning our heads towards a different potential business model. And the social media platform X is potentially transforming into a crypto payments powerhouse. So X has acquired money transmitter licenses, and they want to expand beyond social media, right? Elon Musk talks about this a lot. X, the everything app, comparing it to WeChat in China, where you have your banking, your social media, all these different types of things. That's worked really well there. Obviously, China is much more culturally different than the West, so it's a different challenge. There's all these different types of considerations to make. Excuse me, I'm just going to sneeze real quick. These dang flabbit allergies, I'm telling you. So Elon Musk wants to do X, the everything app. The first next step is crypto. Obviously, we know Elon is hype on crypto. So what are the implications for the crypto industry, including Hedera, right? So what's a money transmitter license? So it's a legal requirement for companies to transmit money, including crypto. So it's basically a license to move money around in a very high commercial capacity. And the U.S. states where X has acquired money transmitter licenses are Arizona, Maryland, Georgia, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. They've granted licenses to X. Very fascinating. And this is going to allow X to directly process both traditional and crypto payments. So when we look at Galaxy and we look at the ability to add a credit card in and boom, grab crypto right in your Galaxy, is X going to add the capability of having a digital wallet in the platform? That's what this leads me to suspect. And when you have a digital wallet with tokenized assets inside of it, it allows you to do different things on the platform. We talked about earlier in the show, Dovu's Charger use case, where you kind of have micropayments tied to APIs, right? All sorts of different things can come into play. So imagine in your X app, your Twitter app, you got your different tabs like your home, explore, notifications, messages. You might have a new one called wallet. Maybe you got some Ethereum in there. Maybe you got some HBAR in there. So what's going on with this? So obviously Elon wants to make X the everything app, and these licenses indicate a move towards nationwide payment processing. And you can also think of this as kind of PayPal and Venmo. And again, Galaxy uses PayPal and Venmo as an example of what they want to do. And so if there's any door to be opened for mainstream adoption of crypto payments, it would be a social media, social network platform like X, incorporating that into the platform. I'm very curious to see how that works. And when we look at what assets would be available, obviously Elon talks about Bitcoin and Doge and all these different coins. There's also the other top ones like Cardano and Algorand and Ethereum and Solana. So you think about what tokenized assets, including, stable coins like USDC and and USDT. And again, also makes you think, what is the bigger picture of this? And my brain goes to, okay, I've got a digital wallet integrated into X, and I can send I can do kind of similar things that I can on Galaxy. Maybe I can send payments through DMs, leveraging this money transmitter license. It's really interesting. So the thing with Galaxy is it's built on Hedera, and it's fast, and it's beautiful, right? Because it's leveraging Hashgraph. Is X going to leverage Hedera Hashgraph? Really, no one knows. No one can say. We can recall that Elon has, tweeted out the HBAR symbol, but not referring to it as the HBAR symbol, instead referring to it as the mathematical equation. He's also referred to the fact that certain blockchains can't scale. You're going to need what he calls a hash ledger. And quite frankly, it's, I think it would be naive to think that Elon Musk isn't aware of Hedera Hashgraph. So if you look at the technology of Hedera Hashgraph, also all of the EVM compatibility work that they've been doing, MetaMask integrations, all these different types of things, is X going to integrate Hedera Hashgraph in any way? I would say more likely so than not. And I'll say that for a few reasons. I got to sneeze one more time. Give me one sec. Okay. Every time I sneeze, I swear I owe everybody here 5 HBAR. But what I will say is, like, it does get you thinking about when Hashgraph really reaches that next level. And a part of me just says, you've heard about these enterprise use cases, these government use cases that have tried out all these different networks. They haven't worked. They've ruled them out. They've migrated to Hedera. They're now building proof of concepts. They're building, all sorts of different use cases on Hedera. And it just, to me, I look at X, I look at these different social media platforms, and I go, how deep are they already? How many networks have they looked into? And I really feel that of all the different pieces of infrastructure, Hedera Hashgraph is going to be the one that they will probably end up having to use. And of course, you can add layers on top of other networks like Ethereum and, to make things more efficient, different things, but you sacrifice security and scalability and all those different types of things. So it's the big question in the air. But this does open the door for mainstream adoption. And that's the big question. Which networks and which technology will X leverage in the crypto space as they make this foray into crypto? And this is a big step. They have acquired money licenses, so it's in motion. So they're not just all talk anymore. They're looking to become a major player in the crypto payments arena, and we're all wondering which network X is going to integrate, including Hedera Hashgraph. So fascinating stuff. The CoinDesk article for this is in the mega thread, pinned to the top of the Jumbotron. We got some other stories to talk about. Take a minute now, share the spaces with your friends. We're getting near the end of it here, but we got some cool stories to talk about. The more the merrier. This is a bit of a rumor. This is a bit, again, I want to go a little bit out there, but the kind of the vibe today is like, what is going to drive mass adoption? And so India's tech giant Reliance Industries is making waves in the blockchain and CBDC space. Here's why Hedera Hashgraph enthusiasts should pay attention. Reliance Industries is making an entry into blockchain and CBDCs. They're partnering with BlackRock. India has also made a lot of progress in CBDCs. And there is a little bit of relevance to Hashgraph. So if folks are unfamiliar with the terminology, right? CBDC, central bank digital currency, we've talked about it. I actually interviewed Carmel Cadet, who is the CEO of MTech, on building CBDCs on Hedera. So there is this company, Gyro Financial Services. This is the new financial entity focusing on blockchain and CBDCs through Reliance Industries. And so who's Reliance Industries? So Mukesh Ambani is the chairman of Reliance Industries and Asia's richest man. And Reliance Industries is one of India's largest companies venturing into blockchain CBDCs. And obviously we know who BlackRock is. So Reliance is diving into blockchain CBDCs. What does this mean? So Reliance launched Gyro Financial Services to focus on payment infrastructure and blockchain. They've partnered with BlackRock, and Reliance Retail started accepting India's digital rupee during its pilot phase in February 2023, and this indicates a significant progress towards a full-scale CBDC launch. And Hedera could potentially be a blockchain platform that JFS explores for its financial services, and India's CBDC development could offer integration opportunities for Hedera. We know also, too, that MTech, as I said, they're focusing on the CBDC space, leveraging Hedera Hashgraph, working with a lot of different governments. And also, too, referencing CoinMan, the HBAR variant again, CoinMan, he recalled that India's National Institute of Smart Government they proposed Hashgraph as a potential technology for a central digital rupee back in 2020. And now it's open source. So when we look at one of India's largest companies, chaired by the wealthiest man in Asia, partnering with BlackRock, and really diving headfirst into the blockchain and CBDC space. And we already have some, admittedly loose ties to the India National Institute for Smart Government and their kind of proposed use of Hashgraph. There's, some different things coming into the forefront, but this is top of mind. This news article is top of mind for a lot of people in the crypto space. Because, of course, everybody's going, well, what if it could be this network? Or what if it could be that network? What technology going to leverage? The reason why is because this is big money. This is an emerging market. A lot of exciting stuff. India is a hotbed for innovation, especially in the crypto space, for so many reasons. So this news story, I think, gets a lot of people excited. I think that this is a story to watch, and every Hashgraph enthusiast should have JIO, right? Gyro Financial Services. This man, Mukesh Ambani, the chairman of Reliance Industries that created Gyro Financial Services. This is one to watch. This is one to check out. There's a couple connections there, a couple little breadcrumbs. It's always good to have. But outside of it being involved with Hedera, it's a massive news story. So this, Reliance Industries' foray into blockchain and CBDCs not only makes a significant moment for India's digital economy, but also opens up intriguing possibilities. There's a lot of stuff happening with Hedera Hashgraph. As we talked about the India blockchain tour, the Hashgraph Association is partnering with what's it called? It's called there's another name for it, but the Indian blockchain tour, going around all the different provinces, going to be onboarding 50,000 developers over time, 500,000 developers, partnering directly with the government. And again, this is the Hashgraph Association. These are 50,000 developers that will be onboarded to Hedera. So there is massive connection that I don't know if a lot of people understand just from a Hedera purview. And I read articles like this, and it just connects a dot in my brain. There's just a feeling there. So wanted to bring it up. Saucer Swap had their AMA recently, and they talked about quite a few things. I just wanted to run through a couple of those. So they're doing a lot of big things. They got their version 2 protocol coming out. We've talked about that. I think, I swear I had someone from Saucer Swap recently on the show. Can't remember. No, that was right. They were busy. They couldn't make it on. That's right. I still got to have them on. I miss those guys. It's been a while since I've had them on the show. I thought I had them on recently. So, Saucer Swap is going to be at the Hedera booth at the Austin Convention Center from September 11th to the 13th. So obviously the Saucer Swap team is going to be going out more to the forefront, which I like. They're going to be out in public, and they're going to be being ambassadors for the Hedera ecosystem. So I dig that. The audits for version 2 of their protocol are completed. They're just waiting for a final report from, how do you pronounce this? Omnicia. That's the company that's doing the audits for their version 2 protocol. And it can't be understated how big of an impact the version 2 protocol for Saucer Swap is going to have on their ecosystem. It's going to change things completely. The fee tiers in Saucer Swap version 2, they also, in their AMA, they talked about the new version will feature a multi-tiered fee structure, offering more flexibility for liquidity pools. They talked about cross-chain partnerships and token migrations. They're open to cross-chain partnerships, and they're already seeing projects like Bank Social planning to migrate their tokens. So there is Saucer Swap's profile, I think, in the overall DeFi ecosystem and crypto is starting to get a little more prominent, which is great. And I think that the product that they're offering has a lot of competitive things that I think some folks on other networks are starting to notice. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how Saucer Swap navigates some of these potential cross-chain partnerships. That's going to be really fascinating. They also noted Headstarter is still an active partner and is involved with due diligence reports for tokens to be added to Saucer Swap, right? Headstarter with their Sentinel product. And that basically is a way for tokens to be reviewed, to have that due diligence done before they're added to Saucer Swap as an approved asset. So that's good to know. So basically, go check out that AMA from Saucer Swap. Those are just some cool notes. But we talked a little more in depth a couple episodes ago about what's happening to Saucer Swap. Go back and listen to that episode. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but yeah. Another one to keep an eye on. I don't know exactly what the timing is going to be for the version 2 protocol. It sounds to me like it might be a couple weeks. Don't quote me on that, but it seems like things are coming along. So I'm excited. And I think that, again, something else to keep an eye on. In the rumor category of this, again, ServiceNow, a Hedera Governing Council member, NVIDIA, and Accenture team up for an AI revolution. Hold on to your seats, folks. The future of AI just got a turbo boost with ServiceNow, NVIDIA, and Accenture joining forces. So what does this mean for Hedera, right? ServiceNow is a Hedera Governing Council member. This is a big headline. This is exciting for a lot of people. And I think that it got onto the radar of HBARbarians, notably Sivo at Parabolic HBAR on Twitter, posted about this, caught my attention. So what's going on? So ServiceNow, NVIDIA, and Accenture. So there's a strategic partnership for AI development. There's the launch of the AI Lighthouse program. There's co-development between NVIDIA, ServiceNow, and Accenture, right? And Accenture is a global professional services company. NVIDIA, obviously the GPU company. And ServiceNow is the enterprise software company focusing on digital workflows, governing council member. And they want to transform businesses with AI, right? Businesses are all ready for AI. They need more powerful stuff. Obviously, when you look at ServiceNow and Accenture, when you look at business workflows, this could be really powerful. And ServiceNow and Lehman Baird and Hedera have often talked about the roles in which tokenization will play in those business workflows. Also, Lehman very recently talking about AI and tokenization at the Google talk recently, and the need for DLTs and distributed ledger technologies to support AI, right? He says that it's more likely that DLTs will affect AI than AI will affect DLTs, right? DLTs will bring trust, provenance to AI so you can know, for example, whether something was generated with AI or not, or when exactly it was, or all sorts of different things about it. It's going to be so important in a world leveraging AI to have tokenization and distributed ledger technology. So when you look at this possible partnership and going into the manufacturing, healthcare, and other industries, and reinventing processes like underwriting, supply chains, and patient care, and you look at the names attached to it like ServiceNow, NVIDIA, and Accenture, this partnership, it just brings my brain to, there's a governing council member tied to it. We're hearing more and more about governing council member use cases. Could this potentially be one of those use cases from ServiceNow? That's in the back of my mind, and something for people to keep an eye on. So ServiceNow is working with NVIDIA and Accenture. They're doing some AI stuff. Are they using Hedera Hashgraph? I don't know. It's another one for the rumor books, and I want it on your radar. This also brought us to the talk that Lehman gave at Google, kind of in a roundtable keynote structure. He talked about revenue streams at the intersection of Web3 and AI. And essentially, Lehman's like, imagine a world where everything from your house to carbon credits is tokenized, and Hedera Hashgraph is at the forefront of making that a reality. And the main topics here that Lehman was talking about is Hedera Hashgraph enabling markets for tokenization, carbon credits, reducing fraud, tokenization in real estate, and again, specifically saying AI is more likely to benefit from Web3 than vice versa. And Web3 can solve those data management and privacy issues in AI and assist in AI can assist in code generation, formal methods, making development more efficient. So it will feed back into development of distributed ledger technology. So there's a little bit of a fulfilling cycle. And he just basically was stressing the importance of these technologies. And to me, it really felt like he was aware of the ServiceNow use case and the fact that governing council members are obviously going to be looking at AI and those different types of things. So, and the fact also too that Lehman and Mance, they both started work together. Their careers began in kind of artificial intelligence. So I think that we're going to be hearing more from Lehman, from Hedera, from Swirls in regards to AI, which is huge. So that's going to be another thing to watch. I'm very curious at the topics in the intersection of Hashgraph and AI. Also, this week, the courts have sided with Grayscale over the SEC boosting the crypto markets. So a court ruling just gave Bitcoin a 7% boost, and this was as of a couple days ago, and is shaking up the entire crypto ecosystem. And the court ruling was in favor of Grayscale against the SEC. There's regulatory implications for the crypto industry because of this. And there is some relevance to Hedera Hashgraph. So some key terms here. ETF means exchange traded fund. So an investment fund that is traded on stock exchanges, and Grayscale is a leading crypto investment firm. The SEC is obviously, the U.S. regulatory body that lost the case. And BlackRock, Fidelity, Wisdom Tree, Van Eck, Invesco, these are companies with pending Bitcoin ETF applications that could be impacted by this ruling. So Bitcoin spot ETFs want to come to the market so you can buy Bitcoin without actually having to buy Bitcoin. It allows people with lots of money to go to somebody like a BlackRock, like a Fidelity, right? And say, I want to buy a bunch of Bitcoin through a product like an ETF into my existing portfolio. And right now, that's not really that possible. And if you had a Bitcoin ETF on the market, there'd be a lot more money flowing into Bitcoin. It's going to unlock a lot of liquidity. It's huge, but the SEC has said, no, no, no. There's lots of problems with it. And this court ruling, this is the breakdown. The U.S. Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Grayscale. And of course, Grayscale is a leading crypto investment firm. The court ruled in favor of Grayscale, allowing them to convert their Bitcoin trust into an ETF. The court called the SEC's denial arbitrary and capricious. That's a word for you. So basically the court's like, SEC, come on, guys. Come on. When this court ruling happened, the crypto market saw about a 7% surge. So it's clear that any small wins around the topic of a Bitcoin ETF is very bullish. And I think a lot of people are excited about the possibility of a Bitcoin ETF. So the ruling may have paved the way for some of these Bitcoin ETFs, and it challenges the SEC's approach to regulating crypto. This has been a point of contention. There's been a couple different wins here and there, kind of beating back the SEC, but there's continual delays and slow rolling. It's very clear that it's going to be very difficult to have this regulatory clarity and for these Bitcoin ETFs to come to market. Now, the news really kind of directly affects Bitcoin, but this sets a precedent that could benefit other blockchains, like Hedera Hashgraph, by using regulatory hurdles. So these little wins here and there are worth paying attention to, because even though they might not be directly related to Hedera, it does have impacts. And generally, when the price of Bitcoin goes up, Hedera Hashgraph goes up. It's an altcoin that generally follows the price of Bitcoin. Now, is this ruling going to move the needle a lot? I don't know. The co-founder of Hedera, Mance Harmon, recently on an interview mentioned that he doesn't really see a lot of movement happening or change happening in the next year or so. He says if there is going to be change happening, it's going to be in Wall Street. So here's Wall Street trying to do what they can do, and they're getting places. Wall Street isn't just good guys. There's a lot of not so great people on Wall Street, but if anyone's going to be able to move the needle in crypto, it's going to be Wall Street. So we'll have to see. Last big story of the day I just wanted to talk about was the recent HBAR Bull episode that was published on Friday. Always a great show. I love it. Rob Allen from the Hashgraph Association was wearing a Timeless t-shirt, which was cool. He was asked a question in regards to the recent meeting minutes that we talked about from the Governing Council regarding the denial of that new member, right? If you recall, per those meeting minutes, there was a entity trying to join the Governing Council. The Governing Council entered into an executive session to discuss it, and the decision ultimately was that that member did not meet the criteria to join the Governing Council, and they were denied. So people had questions about that, and Rob Allen basically said, hey, I've sat on the membership committee. I understand how these things work. They are looking for well-known companies with use cases. They need to be diverse. And he also mentioned that Governing Council members pitch Hedera instead of the other way around, right? As we've heard about the early days from Mance and Lehman, they were constantly pitching to companies to join the Governing Council, right? Now the Governing Council is constantly pitching the other way around and saying, hey, we need this person, we need that person. So a very interesting new dynamic. It feels like there's a lot of change still happening with the membership committee. But a member was denied. Rob Allen also highlighted updates from the Hashgraph Association's enterprise program. This was really interesting. They're currently working with 5 big enterprises, 4 of which are governing council members, and they're working on use cases related to supply chain, identity, rewards. That's big. That's exciting. It's good to know that there's, 5 big enterprise use cases in the pipeline. They're currently onboarding another 6 right now, and 3 of those are governing council members. So that's cool to know. Those are covering the stablecoin and payments use cases as well. He mentioned too, there's a qualified pipeline now before onboarding. He said the projects are big and expensive, and he says that the association wants a, quote, mainnet outcome. So what that means is he wants results on the mainnet, which is great to hear. That's pretty aligned with what the community wants to see. And so that's exciting. They got a healthy pipeline. They got, 5 or 10 big enterprises with big use cases. They have more on the way, and it sounds like stuff's cracking at the Hashgraph Association. I dig it. And he was asked specifically on The Guardian. He says things are going commercial now, right? He talked specifically about Carbonbase, which we reviewed earlier in the show. That's the new carbon registry. There's new levels of abstraction, which means that it's becoming easier and easier for regular people to use this network. And Timeless launched Carbon Central. Like, there's all sorts of different things happening. So Rob Allen said that all of these kinds of these use cases built within the Guardian ecosystem are getting more commercial. So that's exciting. And also, too, on the HBAR Bulls show, he had Christian, who's the head of marketing at Swirlds, and he wanted to talk about how the marketing has changed. And this was a really interesting thing, kind of going into my upcoming interview with the social media manager for Hedera on Friday. So Christian Hasker said the goal of Hedera was to become a mass adopted ledger, and the strategy to achieve this was enterprise adoption. The goal has always been to tell stories of applications built on top of the network, not so much the network itself. So that's an important insight and clear with the marketing. Hyundai is following the same strategy that Avery Dennison did with Hedera and their use case. Enterprises watch what other enterprises are doing, and that right there, right, what he says is very interesting, because you have use cases like Atma.io from Avery Dennison, and then you have corporations like Hyundai that literally Hyundai watches Avery Dennison launch this Atma.io product, and these enterprises learn from each other. They follow in each other's footsteps. And so that was really interesting. And he says it's also key that Hyundai is a giant company that isn't a governing council member. That's a major proof point. So that's something worth pointing out, that Hyundai building this use case on Hedera is a huge sign of kind of proof that the products and services that Hedera is making available to enterprises are useful. So that's big. He talked about the community too. He says we're doing a great job, pat on the back. He says there are ripple effects being created. He also mentioned that there's an increasing amount of spaces and shows, right, including this one. And he mentions now is the time to get involved. He specifically said, right, the head of marketing for Swirlds, right, Christian Hasker, says now's the time to get started and start, to get involved and build your brand around Hedera Hashgraph if you're doing a show or something like that. So I'm seeing many great shows. I saw Fatboy tuning in earlier from the NFT Table Talk show. I dig it. And he says it feels like we're at an inflection point. He says we no longer know everything happening in the ecosystem, and nobody has a complete picture anymore. I talk about this a lot, and it's true. Things have changed quite a bit, and really it's impossible to have a complete picture of what's happening in the ecosystem now, which is exciting but crazy. And that's a big vibe. So Rob Allen and Christian Hasker giving some crazy, useful insights on the HBAR Bull Show. And yeah, let me see if we missed anything here. What a show this week! Oh my God, we had a lot to talk about. Also, the CEO of Envision Blockchain. We talk about the Guardian quite a bit, and the Guardian is a technology stack, a policy workflow engine that enables Dovu, Timeless, a lot of these big use cases that we talk about. And so the CEO of Envision Blockchain that creates the Guardian, Daniel Norkin, I'd love to have him on the show. He shared an article from carboncredits.com, and the article says the following, quote, originally, Shell aimed at spending $100 million each year on carbon offsets, right? Shell. The oil company also targeted to generate 120 million carbon credits yearly by 2030 from natural carbon sequestration projects. These targets would have offset about 10% of Shell's carbon emissions. But with the company's recent revelation, they confirmed they're putting an end to those plans. However, the company hasn't revealed publicly any new plans for carbon credits or how they intend to meet their climate targets. According to Shell, those prior goals weren't attainable due to the lack of carbon offsets that meet its quality standards. An oil company is looking for carbon credits, and it's not possible because there is a lack of carbon credits in the marketplace that meet its quality standards. I can't say this enough, folks. There is a supply and demand issue. There is trillions of dollars waiting to be put into use, and there is not enough quality carbon offsets. You need to tokenize these. You need to digitize these carbon credits. That's what Dovu is doing. That's what all these other use cases are doing on Hedera through the Guardian. And the CEO of the company building the Guardian shared this article and said, quote, will somebody tell Shell that our team has what they need? Fully audible offsets on Hedera, created with the Guardian to prove quality. It's right here. And also, Envision Blockchain and the Guardian shared that they have their new open source dashboard where you can look at activity on their dashboard. And I posted that, wow, according to their dashboard, they've minted 1.2 billion tokens to testnet already. That's kind of crazy. And remember, that's tokens. That's not Hedera consensus service calls that earn a low amount of revenue for the network. These are token service transactions which earn a high amount of revenue for the Hedera network. And there's 1.2 billion of them. So that blew my mind. That blew my mind. And I said, whoa, look at all the things that they minted to testnet. And the CEO of Envision Blockchain replied to that tweet. And he said to me, an interesting correction here. It's been over 1 billion tokens minted since the testnet reset. And he gave a bunch of eyeball emojis. And what that means is, effectively, they've done 1.2 billion token transactions on the Hedera mainnet within a few weeks. That's huge. So imagine that on the Hedera mainnet. Imagine that many token transactions on the mainnet. That would be insane. So we have yet to see what that's about. That's a big, big thing. Wow. So another week behind us and another week ahead. Before I share my final quick thoughts for the week, a huge shout out to everyone listening live on Spaces right now. Another shout out to everyone listening to the recording on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And an extra shout out to all the supporters of the show. The contributions mean so much. And this is the big split. HBAR has been making moves on its own recently, splitting from the status quo. It feels like the crypto ecosystem is splitting in two, with bulls saying one thing and bears saying another thing. It just feels like there is a lot more volatility, a lot more excitement, but a lot more risk, a lot more confusion. There has been a big split, and also a big split with the show. The news is happening right now. I'm doing interviews separately. The show's growing. There's so much things happening. Feels like my brain is going to split. My wife is out right now enjoying a bonfire. And I'm here talking on Twitter Spaces. Maybe there's a better time for the show. I get a lot of feedback. We just saw Coinman the H-Barbarian, an OG in the Hedera community, tweet out that he wants to tune into the show live, but he can't because it's, he's asleep right now. How many people are asleep right now? Too many people. I should be doing the show live when more people are awake. The big split. So much stuff is happening. Not much more needs to be said. I look at the HBAR charts. We're under 5 cents. Who knows what's going to be happening? And I feel like in so many different ways, even some of the topics we talked about, right? Social media, carbon offset use cases, all sorts of different things, CBDCs, tokenization, payments, rewards. It feels like things are splitting. We got the old way, we got the new way. We have people that don't want the new way and people that don't want the old way. And the gray area is becoming less gray. The black and white is becoming more pronounced. The pressure is building. The volatility is building. The expectations are building. Something's got to give. People are saying we're going to rocket down and bottom out at 3 cents for HBAR. Some people are saying we're going to turn things up. We're going to head to 10 cents. Opinions are split. Everything's split. So we're just going to have to see. But it is the big split. And that's a wrap for the Hashgraph Enthusiast News, episode 91, broadcast live on Twitter Spaces, X Spaces, every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific for now, and made available on all major podcast platforms the following Monday. Stay tuned for my next guest interview, the social media manager for Hedera, next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. And make sure to listen to the previous news. We actually talked about quite a few interesting things on the last week's news, so make sure to check that out too. If you'd like to become a supporter of the show, you can send an HBAR contribution to enthusiast.hbar using your Hedera wallet. The show's full Hedera address is in the podcast show notes, YouTube description, and in the mega thread up on the Jumbotron. I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't want to do sponsors. I don't want to do advertisements. I appreciate the community support. We're almost at 10,000 HBAR donated to the show. It's a vibe. I dig it. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm doing a lot more with the show. I'm spending a lot of time every week on the show. It's only getting bigger and better. Get all the info you need about the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR. I'll see you next Sunday for the news. And as usual, for everyone listening live now, if you see somebody listening and you're curious about what's going on with them, hit their profile picture, send them a DM, make the connection. That's what this is all about. Again, I appreciate all of you so much. Hello, future. Goodbye, past.